Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Welcome to Denmark and welcome to the Volkswagen ID Buzz. That's right, finally we are going to go for our first drive in the ID Buzz together. I'm going to give you all of the nerdy details, all the EV stuff, show you around the van, how everything works, and I hope it to be the most detailed first driving impression video you can watch on this thing. So I have a few hours to spend with this. Perhaps I'll make another video with the cargo version as well for our European audience. And man, just happy to be here in Copenhagen. Beautiful day. And we got the ID Buzz. It's going to be awesome. So here it is, the ID Buzz under a perfect blue sky here in Copenhagen. What an absolute dream it is to be able to spend some time with this. Now, I genuinely have not driven it yet, and our first driving impressions, my first driving impressions will be shared with you as soon as I get behind the wheel. I've been driving with a partner today, and it's just been an insanely cool event. Volkswagen has gone over the top here, but again, that doesn't matter. Let's talk about the car. So this one painted in sort of the launch specification in this yellow on white color combination. My understanding is all the US spec ID Buzzes will be two-tone like this particular one. In Europe, you can actually option a single tone. I saw one blacked out on the big wheels and thought, man, that looked pretty freaking awesome as well. So I think in terms of styling, they've nailed it. This is a driving review, but I do want to take you around the vehicle a little bit. And we'll first start with the specification. 77 kilowatt hour battery usable, 82 kilowatt hour installed capacity. And it's got the same charging situation as ID4 and ID5 GTX. And that means 170 kilowatt charging instead of the 135 you get in the standard all-wheel drive models, or the standard rear-wheel drive big battery ones as well. And so that's good, except you really only get that fast charging till about 20% state of charge, and then it kind of falls on its face. I really think this battery pack needs a bit more meat in the center of the curve to allow for faster mid-range charging. So Volkswagen claims about 30 minutes from 5 to 80%. As I always say, it's not always about the peak number, it's always about the charging curve. And it's not terrible, but I think you're doing somewhere around 95 to 100 kilowatts at 50%. So you'll really come off of that 170 kilowatt peak pretty early in the charging curve. 11 kilowatt AC charging here. And then of course, there's your DC pins, which we just discussed, DC fast charging. Interestingly, because the ID Buzz will ship on Volkswagen 3.2 software, they actually will have plug-in charge enabled as they roll off the line. So everything that comes off the line will be plug-in charge. And this is really a European-centric review because in the US, we're not going to be getting ID Buzz for years, maybe a year and a half to 2 years down the road. We'll see. And we also aren't totally sure what's going to happen with production, because all of the ID Buzzes right now are going to be built at Volkswagen Commercial's plant in Hamburg, denoting the H on the license plate right there. That's just where this one's registered. And that means it definitely won't qualify for the US federal tax credit in the future. And I think Volkswagen might, my understanding is it's possible they're going to look into perhaps building this in Chattanooga at our localized factory where ID4 will be built. But there's a lot more that goes into these future tax credits, such as material sourcing, et cetera, et cetera. And we're honestly not totally aware of what it all means at the moment. And so we'll see how this all plays out. Okay, more specs. Rear-wheel drive only, short wheelbase only at launch. This is really the standard model, and there's more variants to come down the road. At the moment, this is the standard wheelbase. We're not getting this in America. This is the Euro spec and 150 kilowatt rear motor. I'll insert a clip here just momentarily of showing you the rear motor actually. And you can see the rear motor in here. This is the permanent magnet rear motor, same basically as ID4. We've seen this a few times. You have your power electronics inverter on top. You have your windings down here. I mean, it's all pretty standard, I would say. Nothing too different. I think the motor has gone through slight revisions over its years, maybe a better oiling system for the gearbox, but overall, it's pretty much the same unit that we know from the ID4. Really good response, great consistent power, pretty good thermal longevity as well. Overall, a really, really nice unit. Definitely provides the power when needed. Not crazy fast, but again, built to cost. These things are mass producible and they seem to be fairly reliable out in the real world. Now, I know there have been a couple issues with early ones, but overall, these things are just rock solid. And yeah, I think it's a good power application for the Buzz. It's the same rear motor that's in ID3, ID4. It's the higher power output permanent magnet 150 kilowatt motor back there. I think it's really kind of a nicely packaged motor. It's very smooth. It's quite responsive. It does really well. It's reliable. I think it's probably the right motor to put in this thing. Of course, it's optimized for MEB, which is really nice. Interestingly, there's a staggered setup on every wheel size option. You can get 18, 19, 20, or 21-inch wheels, depending on configuration. If you're going for the cargo version, you can only get up to 20-inch wheels. But again, I think I'll make a separate video on the cargo. And they're 235s in the front and 265s in the rear. Let me just double check that. Yep, 235 50R20s. So these are the one down from the largest wheel. I think it looks pretty good on 20s, no issues there. Personally, I'd go 21s on mine. Big wheels, give up a little bit of range, pretty sweet. Let me show you what's going on back here. You can see the parking sensors integrated into the tail lamp right there, which is pretty cool, into the fog light. This has got to be the largest rear tailgate ever fitted to a vehicle. Pretty sure Magna makes this component for Volkswagen, is my understanding as well. You can take a look inside the back here. Huge trunk space, really nice. They even have an accessory with a built-in camper situation that slides in. You have a pull-out grill. You can lay down flat here. Of course, being electric, you can keep the AC on for a while. This is sort of a slide-in display that Volkswagen is showing here. It's a kitchen, bed, and storage out of the box. Turn your ID Buzz into a mini mobile home. So this is pretty cool. And this is a patented camping module. Interesting, but I think it looks pretty neat. So you have a little bit of a cooktop situation, a little burner, and then water storage in here. Definitely seems to be pretty modular. It's from, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Coo or something like this. And it's a bed and storage space. So basically this lives inside of the Buzz. You have your sleeping stuff, and then out the back pops all of this. Really a neat idea. I think this could be sort of the perfect overlanding accessory. You can load in whatever you want. I really like this idea where you can store some of your pans, your cooking appliances down here. The only thing I would worry about with this type of surface is noise, but you could put in some padding and modify this, of course. And yeah, I guess like this is going to be available through Volkswagen Accessories. So I think that is really freaking neat. I don't know if it'll be available in the US, but really an awesome little solution here. Is there side storage as well? Doesn't look to be. Mostly just for maneuvering, I think, outside of the Buzz. But really an awesome situation. The key is actually different as well. So let me show you this, because it looks just like a normal ID4 key, but it's got some new functions. So you can see there's a door unlock, trunk and lock, and then also the doors. Normally this is where the alarm would be, although the Euro spec ID3 and ID4 typically don't have the alarm as an option. In the US, I believe it's actually standard. So I think we can click unlock, and then we can click this, and there we go. The door opens up. By the way, I've pointed this out before as well. It looks like it covers the charge port from some angles, but you can easily have the door all the way open and the charging flap here. It'll be interesting to see a long wheelbase if it's going to be that close of a run. But yeah, not sure I love the charge port location for this big of a vehicle. Sometimes when you're maneuvering around these charging stations, it's hard to get it over here. This will be even bigger in the US. I actually think a better charging port location for the ID Buzz would have been to put it here underneath this massive Volkswagen badge, which I don't believe lights up in this particular configuration. And that's purely just for ease of access. Now on the front, it also gets snow and schmutz up there, but that's how the e-Transit does it, and it works pretty well. There are a ton of Easter eggs all around here with ID Buzz here. There's smiley faces in the door. You guys would have seen this if you've seen any other videos on the Buzz, but I just love the happiness. To me, I woke up early this morning, went to go see, and there was about 50 of these things in a line, and I just couldn't help but smiling. It's really awesome. Here you have the second row configuration. No third row in the short wheelbase, and then in the long wheelbase, we will get the third row in America. That's just what people seem to want. I actually think this configuration would do pretty well in the US as well. But there we go, door auto close, auto opens. One thing I don't like about the door auto opening and closing, I think maybe a software update should fix this, is if you're opening the door and you go, oh, let me stop it there, it actually starts moving forward. Then you go, let me stop it there, and then it goes back. So there's no way to stop it. One press just moves it in a different direction. So I wish that would be adapted a little bit. This particular configuration, sort of in the launch spec, it's fully animal-free interiors, so you have dual armrests. I actually found, riding in the passenger seat, that I kept this one up and put my arm here over on this door, which I quite liked. But totally animal-free, even though the steering wheel's non-leather in this particular car, which is quite nice, so things should wear a long time. The seats are nice, adaptable here. Also, massaging with this function, you get about 10 minutes of just the center lumbar going up and down, which is cool. I showed you this in the tour as well. This pulls out completely. You have your cup holders here. I think probably the cheapest part of the whole car is the cup holder situation. But what do you say we jump inside, we drive this thing, and I'll share my first impressions. Essentially, yes, it is the rear wheel drive, 150 kilowatt motor, smaller battery pack, the US spec coming down the line, bigger chassis. I don't actually think that much bigger, but it'll have the third row, and I hear a very big rumor that it's going to have a roughly 100 kilowatt hour battery pack. In terms of range, we're not sure what that'll give it, but it certainly will be a lot more than this car with the 77 kilowatt hour pack usable, and I think it kind of needs it for our market. I think just before I hop in, I haven't driven the car yet, just came back to the parking lot. Take a look at all of the buzzes. They have over 50 of them here in Denmark, a whole bunch of international media coming to drive this car. Again, a huge thanks to Volkswagen for inviting me so I can share my experiences with you about this car. And I'm actually staying in Europe for a bit, but by the time this video goes up, yeah, it's weeks behind when I filmed it. Look at this little grab handle. This is kind of interesting. So you take this grab handle, step up into the rear, and wow, huge headroom back here. How neat would this have been if it had a full glass roof though? That would have been amazing. I have this little tray that doesn't want to pop up. Oh, you got to pull this little tab here on the bottom. Okay, so pull the tab, got a tray, put your drink right there. That's awesome. And then you just pull the tab and it drops back down. And let's take a look. Is there a center armrest situation? No center armrest. What the heck? That seems like a massive miss. The front seats have two armrests, not here. Okay, but there's a big cargo cover covering the trunk area right there. I have to say, back seats. Let me close this door. I'll show you how you do it. You hit this button. Interesting sounding door noise. USB-C port in the door. Man, you don't want to open the door and have that go flying back with something plugged in. Pretty comfortable, but like, what do I do with my left arm now? Yeah, really no center armrest. Huh, that's wild. But some innovative features here. You have a little phone holder or some sort of a pouch on the seat there. And let's see, no cup holders there. So the only cup holders are on this tray. When you pull this out, there's your cup holder, but that doesn't feel so sturdy. So man, I kind of feel like they may have made a miss in the back seat a little bit. Nice LED lights in the roof, dimmable, I'm sure. Let's see. Yes, dimmable. That's great. Okay, so that's a little bit lacking. What are these things? Maybe not yet options. So we open this, USB-C port goes flying back. Oh my God, yeah, make sure you unplug whatever's in that door. Okay, so the back seat review, that's not as good as I was hoping it would be. But I think the move is maybe on the long wheelbase, they'll have like a Luxo back seat option or something. I don't know, I'm just guessing. I think that would be really nice. While we're at it, let me show you the two different headlight options you can get on this and some of the different wheel options, and then we'll take it for a drive. So up front, this one has the IQ light, which is an LED matrix situation. It really gives the vehicle a sense of personality and excitement. I really, really love that. Again, we're on the 20-inch wheels on our particular one. And then over here are some cargos. They're pretty much all optioned the same. It's just amazing to see them, except for this one, which doesn't have the LEDs on the left. So, excuse me, they're all LEDs. This one has the reflective LED. This one has the upgraded light. So like, for example, for the US spec ID4, some of them have this basic light and some have the IQ light. Now, are there any around on the big wheels? I know I saw a couple. Let's see if I can show you them. These are the standard, I believe, 18-inch wheels. Let's take a look. Yep, 255, 55 R18s. That's interesting. So they're not even as wide as the other ones. The ones on ours are 265 in the rear. I know it's staggered. They said they were all staggered. Goodyear Eagle tires. Where does it say? There we go, 235. So 235s in the front, 255. So this is the drift spec with more rear tire. Look at all of the ID buzzes around. This is so cool. Here we go, another version just like ours on the 20s. On the 20s, oh, I like this green color on the 20s. This one might actually be my favorite color over here. This grayish two-tone situation is really nice. Forgive some of the sun. Love this spec right here, 20s and I think 19s. Okay, so here's the difference. 235, 55 R19 and 255 R19 in the rear. And then this one is the same as ours on the 20-inch with 265s in the rear. More ID buzzes over there charging. There's also a charger with a built-in battery pack. Oh, there, that black one right there is the blacked out one. That looks amazing, and that's on the big 21-inch wheels. That's how I'd do it. So freaking awesome over here. Okay, let's go drive our little yellow ID Buzz. Well, you joined me inside the ID Buzz, and wow, I just really love it a lot. So steering wheel out and down, that comes out pretty nice and far, kind of just where I want it. Driver's seat all the way down, as always. Backrest massage on. Love it. It uses these air bladder in the center of the seat to adjust the backrest. See if I can get these air vents over on me. So here we go. Welcome ID Buzz. I know a lot of people don't like the Volkswagen ID software. We've been through this. I understand how it works. It works pretty well in my opinion. Software 3.2 seems to be pretty snappy. It does route planning, and it's like a little bit smarter route planning. It tells you when to leave chargers instead of just getting you there. So like they're working on this. Plug-in charge capable, at least in Europe on Ionity, and I believe now coming to the US on Electrify America. Volkswagen does recommend an 80% maximum charging situation for these, just like on our US spec cars. This is pretty much a US spec battery. Into drive, into braking mode. The shifter right here, hopefully you can see that on the camera barely. You basically rotate it forwards for drive, rotate it back for reverse. Once you're in drive, you can rotate it forwards again and you get to braking, which is regen. And I'll talk all about the regen stuff. I won't go as nerdy until we like really get to spend some time with it, which is when I'll do a full in-depth driving review. So let's just see. There's a driving dynamics setting, which I don't think adjusts anything maybe other than traction control. Basically, I'm going to set up my individual drive profile before we head out. So I'm going to put driving dynamics in sport, although I don't know what that does because the suspension is fixed on this particular one. Steering in comfort, driving electric motor in sport, cruise control in sport, so it really zips up to the car in front, headlights in sport, so they turn but it's not nighttime, and air conditioning in comfort instead of eco. So I think it's really great. We have heated seats, heated steering wheel, 3 options for each, as you would expect. And let's start heading out. First time driving the ID Buzz. Whoa! Wow, okay. Already I could write a novel about what I'm experiencing. This is just awesome. So the throttle pedal feels just like the ID4. In fact, it is the exact same pedal box pretty much as the ID4. You have the play and pause buttons down there. Suspension, yes. Wow, smooth. The steering is so incredibly light, which I love. This is great. I think we need to do a turning radius test. What do you guys think? So, full turn. Whoa! Look at this. You do loops, really nice spec ID3 over here. So, okay, that's one thing Volkswagen has done so well on the MEB platform is turning radius. A lot of that is because there's these large wheel arches. It's rear wheel drive, so the front wheels can just go pretty much full sideways. Very impressive. In terms of what I'm initially experiencing, the seating position well, the seat itself feels really good. I'm not finding that I actually want to use both armrests on the seat. I actually think I'm going to keep the driver one up for now and use my elbow over here. Looking ahead, we can see all the ID buzzes in the distance, which is really great. And yeah, okay, we're out for a cruise. Sight line's really interesting. The mirrors are quite narrow but tall. I'm just going to push them out a little bit because they are so narrow, probably for drag efficiency. It has a 0.29 coefficient of drag, which is really low for sort of a van of type. So let's just try not to run over any bicyclists. Off we go, full power. Yeah, it boogies. I mean, it's over 10 seconds, 0 to 60 miles an hour. But it feels quite nippy around town, as you would expect from an electric car. I mean, if you've driven an ID4, you put your foot down, feels just like that. This is freaking awesome. So I think we need to find some good roads, although in Copenhagen, I don't really know if good roads exist. But we'll head closer into the city. We're about 13 kilometers outside of it and have some fun. But initially, sightline out the front is very interesting. Sort of a really long dashboard with massive A-pillars, which is really weird. And I don't actually mean A-pillars. I mean, there's this A-pillar window, this first window that's quite large. The pillars themselves, you would think would get in your way, but at least I'm not feeling uncomfortable with them there. The only thing that I think, Mustang Mach-E taxi cab, the only thing that I would think feels a little bit odd is the not seeing red lights with this roof coming so far forwards. Now let's make sure everything's planted down because we're gonna rip it around our first corner. So big power coming in, let's see how it handles. We got staggered setup, so full lean, oh yes, full tire squeal in the buzz. It handles exactly as you would expect. All the weight is down low, so you can put in a lot of steering lock without feeling like you're gonna tip. You can get right up on the edge, and like you can actually hustle this thing around, and that is the beauty of MEB. Now I've driven all of the MEB cars right now, ID3, ID4, ID5. They're very predictable, big acceleration. I mean, it's fine. What more do you need? It's not fast. You're not winning any races in this thing, that's for sure. And you know, I'm just giving my initial impressions for now. This one doesn't have, it doesn't have travel assist on this particular one, but I'm pretty sure the US cars will get it as standard. ID4 gets it as standard. So this one doesn't have any of the driver assistance, it seems. Oh wait, it just popped up. It does. Travel assist selected. Boom. Back to our quick conversation. It's doing an automatic lane change, by the way. I hit the turn signal and it's moving over. And then it just said it couldn't figure it out. Locked back on. Got a lot to tell you. In terms of handling, that's not the point of this vehicle, but because it's electric and you can stuff it into a corner, it's really nice. Having that primary axle on the rear for powertrain means the more throttle you give it, the more it neutralizes out. I actually thought that the stagger was set up pretty well. Response felt great. The brake pedal is soft but reactive, and if you've driven an ID4 or ID5 or ID3, it feels just like that. It really does, and that's not a surprise at all. So I think we really have so much to break this down into, because this is my first initial impression of driving the Buzz, and it's just as expected in all of the best ways. One thing that's not so expected, at least sitting here at about 65 miles an hour, almost 70 miles an hour, is the noise. It's loud. So ID4 is a very quiet car, especially considering the price point. This is going to be significantly more expensive than ID4, is my guess. They haven't released pricing for the US market, but I'm thinking $60,000 plus when it hits the US would be my guess. I don't know. And just feels a bit noisy in here. Now we'll have to see how the long wheelbase is, if different options get different, different countries get different options for noise canceling, but yeah, quite noisy in here. In terms of just cruising, which is what you're going to be buying this thing for, going down the road, using the driver assistance, let's just knock it into the right lane here. Didn't want to do an auto lane change there. We'll talk more about the driver assistance towards the end of this video. But the seating position's great. There's quite a lot of room to the person next to me over here. I want to say there's 8 USB-C ports, something like this, and they're 45-watt power delivery, which is pretty good. There is another USB-C port up by the rear view mirror. This one I think is only 15 watts, but the rest are 45 USB-C power delivery capable. Not 100 watts like EQS, but I'll take 45. It's enough to run my MacBook Pro unless I'm exporting, so that seems to work pretty well. Overall, the visibility, having all of the windows in this particular one's really great, so I can see all around. I have blind spot monitoring in the vehicle as well. And yeah, let's take an exit. Let's jump back around. So it's doing an auto lane change right here all by itself. We've entered this lane and we're locked back on. Great, so I say we try and find more back roads, more urban environment to drive this thing in, and then yeah, then we'll catch up, do some highway driving later on, but I'll break it down into a few categories like I always do. But my initial impression, this is my first drive of ID Buzz, is so incredibly positive. I love the steering. I love the pedal inputs. Even though the brake is a little bit soft, it does regen blending, about 100 kilowatt regen peak before it switches over to friction brakes. And drum brakes in the rear, discs up front, same as ID4. We've covered that conversation. Different size disc brakes depending on wheel size, according to the kit, the media kit that I was given. I'm not so sure how that works. Maybe the 18s get a smaller brake. Anyway, no one's around. Green light. Let's just do a launch. Full throttle. Literally isn't moving. And then there it goes. So massive delay when I floored it there. I don't know if you saw that. And I think, honestly, what that could have been was me
in 1,000
coming...
meters traffic congestion delay, 8 minutes.
Oh, traffic. We'll go a different way. What that probably was me coming off the brake pedal, flooring it, and then it thinking, did you really mean to floor it? We'll have to try a launch in a little bit as well to see if it does that, because that's honestly not good at all. All right, well, let's try it in some more congested urban environments with the passenger version, and then we'll start seeing how it drives where else. But so far, I just couldn't be any happier than I am right now, driving an ID Buzz in Denmark. Big smile on my face. This is just wonderful, truly wonderful. And now you join me in a bit more of a city environment where we can talk about how this really handles the low speed stuff, the maneuverability. Now keep in mind the US market car is going to be a little bit longer with the long wheelbase. I'm pretty sure Europe will have that as an option as well. And it's important to keep in mind ID Buzz is broken into 2 model variants. The first is the ID Buzz Passenger, which is what we're in now. That's just called ID Buzz. And then ID Buzz Cargo, which is sort of a partition behind the front seats with a load space in the rear. And you can fit 2 Euro size pallets in the back of that. Now maybe we will see a cargo version coming to the US, but I don't think so. And the main reason is for taxes on the inside of America. So basically in America, we have something called the chicken tax, that if it's not, I believe, final assembly is done in America, you got to pay crazy taxes for utility vehicles. BYD electric bus we're cruising next to right now. How about that? 2 electric buses in yellow next to each other. That's sweet. And let's do a little drag race with the BYD. He doesn't need to know that we're racing, but we're next to him, and floor it. Smoked him. He's got a lot more battery capacity than we do, though. He's got probably 600 kilowatt hours. We got 80. So cargo's probably not coming to the US, but we will get the long wheelbase passenger, and I think it's going to be a smash hit. No matter what they price it at, it's going to be a halo vehicle, and no matter how it drives or anything, this thing, just from a styling and lifestyle perspective, is so good, the rest doesn't matter. But here's the thing about the rest, is that it's really good. So like, it's just the car to have. I think I'm gonna get one. You know, I think we need one on the channel. We gotta do like a mobile dog washing, dog rescue vehicle. You know, Alyssa loves to do her dog rescue runs in the e-tron. How sweet would it be to turn one of these into sort of a full mobile dog saving vehicle? That would be just, I think, a really fun project to do. So many different things. You can turn it into a surfing vehicle or just a family hauler, honestly, by taking your kids around. Replace the Suburban, replace the minivan. This is technically a minivan, but it's way cooler. And so I think it's going to be a smash hit in America. Okay, let's just start making some turns and getting ourselves lost here, shall we? Steering input, tight corner, big power. Here we go, fun little road, zipping through. Yes, you can definitely nip around the city, no problem in this thing, but you will be using full power. It is not fast. It is not, I wouldn't even say it's quick. It's got adequate power for a van. Now, if you compare this to a diesel or a combustion version of this type of category, I don't know, they make a lot of noise, they have a lot of delay. This is instant power, but it's not a lot of it. Now, I think we'll see an all-wheel drive variant coming at some point down the line. I even was joking around with some of the engineers earlier, like how cool would it be if there was an ID Buzz R, you know, like make it really spicy, and they're like, we want to do all of this, we just need to get the product off the line first, and then we'll see what they can squeeze through product planning and of course accounting. But the nice thing is the enthusiasts who engineered this really want to do fun stuff with it, and I think it's the best thing for Volkswagen. This is, you know, BMW had the i8 as their supercar, Mercedes has the AMG GT, Audi has the R8 of course, and Volkswagen has this, the ID Buzz, as their halo product. This thing drives great from a steering perspective, coming in under brakes that, I mean, easy to modulate brakes. I'm really impressed with how it drives and the looks this thing gets. Everyone's looking at it. I'm heading up this way because there's some cobblestone up here. Let me just turn down the fan a little bit. So we'll go colder temp on the face at lower fan to save on audio. And I think in the city, this thing really works. It's got a very tight turning radius. It's got easy to control body maneuvering or body motions to maneuver. It's got great visibility to see everything. It's got automatic parking functions, which we can discuss a little bit. It doesn't seem like it's the most relevant to me. The automatic parking thing seems really slow and laggy, but it feels built well, no rattles, and we're on pretty harsh cobblestone. Take a listen. Let's not run over anyone. Having to do a stop here. See, big smiles all around. Everyone loves the Buzz. I guess we're going past the bus or train station. Yeah, no rattles, no squeaks. ID4, big wheels. We don't get the big wheels on ID4 in the US. Don't know why. And it just feels really fun, and from a suspension standpoint, really nicely calibrated. This is a totally fixed suspension, so no active damper. It is, again, no active components at all. McPherson strut up front, multi-link in the rear, just, you know, like as you would expect from something of this caliber. And really, there's nothing to complain about for me. So far, the only thing I've found on this drive that I'm not totally into would be the wind noise. I think it's quite noisy from an outside perspective, but wow, is it easy to place on the road. I've got it right millimeter perfect with these little walls, so that's very nice. You can just zip around in it too. Wow, this is great. All right, well, let me drive it a little bit more. I'll let you know about what I think coming up, but from a driving perspective, which is what this video is all about, yeah, this thing is just got it completely nailed, in my opinion. The ID Buzz also has sort of an automatic parking feature where it uses some of its sensors to figure out how to go. It seems to be doing an okay job through here. That's a pretty tight section. Essentially, you train the vehicle one time. You train the vehicle one time on a path of intention. So he brought it all the way around to here and then back and then hit save. And it's pretty much driving itself forwards and backwards. And, you know, I thought, okay, that seems pretty interesting. But what about BMW's system where it just remembers the last bit of your driving and then backs up based off of what you did? That works only in reverse. This is like a one-time training thing. And then if you're not exactly where you started, you can be plus or minus a few meters, it said. And it basically locks onto its path. It uses camera data, ultrasonics, and it pretty much gets you over to where you need to go. I mean, yeah, it's doing it, following the exact path that he took the ID Buzz on. I'd say that's a pretty good feature. You can only store up to 5 profiles, but I think that's fine. Home, work, a tight parking garage in your city, for example. And it goes pretty far, like it remembers a lot of distance here. I'd be really curious to see what it does on ice if it starts spinning tires and stuff. That'd be kind of a fun thing to try and confuse it. But it also uses GPS data, and wow, it just brought it right up there. That's very impressive. Holy smokes. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Neat feature, nice function, and we'll definitely play around more with that, especially in the US when we have some time to get a cone course set up to see how accurate we can get it to be. Green light means go. Here we go, zipping through. Full power, a little bit of ESP intervention, but it's so unbelievably smooth. Let's talk driver assistance.
Please turn slight right in 500 meters and turn right immediately.
Thank you. Let's talk driver assistance and all that good stuff. How do I turn this lady off? I go mute. Thank you very much. That just means I'll get lost. There's also a little ID light on the dash, just like ID4 that comes up. Oh, now she thinks I'm talking to her. Anytime you say ID, she'll come up. Okay, we're gonna go towards Malmo, towards Sweden. I was actually in Sweden with this vehicle earlier. I was riding with my drive partner, and yeah, we just ended up in Sweden on a beach. It was pretty cool. So we'll be turning right here. No right on red. Driver assistance. There are a couple things going on here. We have camera, radar, and ultrasonics all working together to do lane centering and all of that stuff. But one huge thing that this vehicle does is having the sort of next update to travel assist. So we're all pretty familiar with the Volkswagen ID vehicles doing lane centering on the highways in America, doing pretty good adaptive cruise control. But this, after software 3.1, this one being 3.2, really has some nifty features. The first is car-to-X communication and swarm data. That means that if you lose lines on the highway, it will actually follow the same path as vehicles before it took. And again, you're still responsible for driving this thing and all of that stuff. I'm actually going to pull over here because I want to do a quick acceleration run. And you're still responsible for all of it, but it seems to do a really good job in trickier situations. The next is automatic lane changes, which I showed you a little bit earlier. Hit the turn signal, as long as it pops up, moves over, and you're good to go. That's really nice. It doesn't do it automatically. You have to tell it which way to go with the turn signal, but then the car takes care of everything, and it shuts off the turn signal afterwards as well. I'm going to put us into sport mode, and then I'm going to show you one more feature, which is I can actually position the ID Buzz in the center of the lane, on the right side of the lane, or on the left side of the lane, depending on traffic scenario. And this is amazing if you end up in Stau in traffic in Germany. If you need to make an emergency lane, you can push it all the way to the leftmost edge. Or if you're passing a truck and you just want to nudge it, it stays to the left, and then you can nudge it back to the center. So let's launch it. Left foot hard on the brake, flooring it with the right. Off we go. 50% state of charge. No power derating. Goes all the way to max. 70 kilometers, 80, 90. 100 kph, 110 to the speed limit. It's so dead silent and so progressive. It's just perfect. And the thing about ID Buzz is it's not meant to be a race car. It's just meant to be a cruiser, and it has more than enough power to really do everything you would want to do. So here we are, locked in on travel assist selected. I'm going to pull the view over to driver assistance, and you can see it's staying in the center of the lane. Capacitive steering wheel, which is really nice. I can push us all the way to the right to kind of make us drive this line. And now you'll see it's lane centering, but it's putting the right wheels right on that right line. Conversely, I can push us all the way over here to the left, and I can sort of stay here, and you'll feel it lock in. And now it's staying all the way on these left lines over here. Or I can kind of put us right back in the middle, and it takes a little bit of time to feel what you're trying to do, and now it'll stay right dead straight in the middle as we would want. We don't actually want to go to Sweden, so I'm going to take this exit right here, but on the highway you can really cover some distance. It's really nice. One thing I'd actually like to do is loop around and see what the efficiency is like, because this is kind of a concern with a vehicle this large. So I think what we'll do is we'll make a U-turn, we'll reset our trip calculations, and we'll go about 113 kilometers per hour, which is 3 over the speed limit, but that would be 70 miles per hour. So that's a metric we use quite frequently. And I just want to figure out where to reset everything. So I'll go to data, and I can zero it out as soon as we lock ourselves in. So on the highway, big speed, just leaning the thing over. It's so much fun to drive quickly because it's quite large but so planted. You would never expect something this big to go. Ooh, really nice ambient lighting throughout the cabin as well, underneath the doors, underneath the dash. That was really nice. I wish we could actually drive these at night because Volkswagen does such a good job with lighting. If I sound excited about this, it's because I am excited about it. So this is not like a full range test or efficiency test loop, but let's just merge over, get up to speed, full power, and we'll just go highway speeds and see how it does. So we're not going to be able to maintain 113, but we'll just do what we can. We're going to use adaptive cruise control, pull the distance all the way to the closest. We'll set the speed up to 120, I guess, 10 over. And we'll see how this thing does. Cruising, perfect day outside, 25 degrees Celsius, AC's barely working. I would totally get my Buzz tinted if I had one though. I'd like to make a lane change to the right. Oh wait, 1, 2, 3. I'll hit the right turn signal. It says check around vehicle during lane change. There it goes. Oh, and it canceled. I don't know why, maybe because we're coming into a tunnel. But it locked itself on. It actually did a great job. It didn't even need to say it canceled. And I think my only gripe about this whole car, yeah, is still the wind noise. The blind spot monitoring is interesting. It's a little light on the outside of the mirror over here. And I just wish it was less noisy. But the suspension is unbelievably well tuned, really nicely tuned. You can tow 2,200 pounds with a trailer. If you're on a 12% grade and it's unbraked, it's only 750 kilograms. So what's that, 1,800 pounds, 1,700 pounds? But in the US, pretty much, I think we'll see a 2,000 pound tow rating probably come through. In terms of total GVWR, like what's the gross weight, it's over 6,000 pounds. It's actually like 6,400 pounds when you add max payload plus the vehicle. And that means that you might be able to section 179 this thing from a tax perspective, which would be really nice. But that's again up to your tax legal situation, or your tax situation, not legal situation. And I'm not totally sure about how yeah, that all plays out with this particular vehicle in the US, but it is something to consider. But you could cover some miles in this thing. The massage seat shuts off after about 10 minutes, which is a little bit annoying, but you can just hit a button, no big deal. And it's just a car to make you happy and everyone else around you happy. I think I said that when the ID4 launched, this is the happiest car on sale. And I've been an ID4 fan. I've really liked that car, recommended it to a lot of people. Now with Ioniq 5 and EV6 coming in with better technology, maybe not so much, but ID4's always had this personality. And I said ID4 is the happiest car on sale when it launched. Well, now it's been replaced with this, which is by far the happiest new car you can buy. And yeah, we're not able to maintain anything more than about 90 kilometers per hour average as the Mustang Mach-E taxi comes up alongside. It's the second Mach-E taxi we've seen this trip. I'm actually going to duck in behind him and take this exit. So here we go. Oh, I love that you're right at the front. You can really cut over and use every last inch on that front of the vehicle. I drive a Sprinter van, actually. We have one as like our overlanding vehicle, and this is just so much better for van life applications than our Sprinter. It's also a lot smaller, so perhaps the long wheelbase will help. Perhaps cutting a hole in the roof and adding a rooftop situation would be good. And I don't even know if we can switch to get back onto the highway. I'm pretty sure this is the same route we took last time, if I remember correctly. So approaching a red light here, using regen in brake mode, blending friction with the brake pedal. It's just gone green. So even in B mode, it doesn't give you all the regen possible. When you hit the brakes, it adds more. It's feeling like identical drivetrain tuning to ID4, which I've already gone very in-depth on a video. I'll leave linked in the description below. And so I'm really trying to focus on the differences in this few little bit I have driving this car. And the differences are road noise and seating position. Seating position's great. You do have this hump in the center, which is where the driver assistance camera is, down low instead of up high in the roof, and I always thought that's interesting, but the windshield wipers grab it, so when you hit the wipers, which are over here on this side, there we go, you'll see they come out from the center and expand out, which is kind of funny. So true minivan style windshield wipers. Okay, let's see if we can come through here without getting hit, because the someone took out a pole from an accident. Back to full power. Yeah, I can't wait for like the all-wheel drive version. Presumably they'll make it to come and be quite spicy, but for now, living the dream. I don't even know who's pulling who over. Hopefully not us. Nope, thank goodness. Great. So we averaged about 145 watt-hour per kilometer just on that short highway stretch at about 90 kilometers per hour. Really not bad, 145 watt-hour per kilometer. I'll leave what that is in miles per kilowatt hour and watt-hour per mile here. But that's not bad efficiency, but again, perfect conditions, perfect day. Oh man, everyone's heading that way for that accident. Perfect conditions, perfect everything, and we're on the 20-inch wheels, which are not the 21s. And there you have it. That's our first experience with the Volkswagen ID Buzz driving around. You know, there's really very little to be critical of this vehicle. It's so pleasant, it's so happy, and it's very honest about its intentions. The big thing we don't know is the price, and we also don't know our US spec version. We don't know what battery pack we'll get and anything like that. So I will say, at least for the European market, for our European viewers, wow, you guys are lucky that you're getting it first. And now that we have our office opening in the Munich area, I think I'm going to order either one of those or the Cargo. Keep an eye out for tomorrow's video, because I'll have a full driving review of the Volkswagen ID Buzz Cargo. Really looking forward to sharing that with you. It's just been an incredible day of Buzz stuff. By the way, some notable things. The sound system's really not too bad, but when the bass hits, it definitely drops down the power. Same as ID4 and ID3. It's like it's quieter when you get a big bass hit because it's sort of maxing out the amp. The air conditioning is insanely good. It's probably the coldest air conditioning I've ever experienced. And they're so maneuverable around the city. It's just really a joy to drive this car. I am so thrilled. Can't wait to see what people do with modifications, the owners, enthusiasts, the groups, the meetups, all the stuff. It's the rebirth of the Volkswagen bus lifestyle here with the ID Buzz. Can't thank you guys for watching another Out of Spec Reviews video enough. We'll see you on another one tomorrow. Bye-bye.